Now, I've looked at some unfortunately named watches over the years, but none more so, I don't think, than the watch that's supposed to be in here. Yeah, when I saw this online, I couldn't help but chuckle, and I anticipate you'll do the same probably. And it's a shame too, because otherwise, it looks quite promising. And this one comes with a impressive tool as well. Don't think I've ever quite seen one like this before, at least not included in the box. This has the rotating end cap on it to make getting a good purchase on it pretty easy. And this will be for adjusting what looks to be screwed bracelet links. But as you can see, it's from none other than Addy's Skin, or Addy's Kin as they really want to be known, it seems. And that definitely ties into it, but this one goes one step further. So we've got the watch, and we've got a warranty card, cleaning cloth, and user manual as well. Definitely improving the quality of these internal components. But it's this thing that is going to be the focus of this video. And to some degree, this one felt like it was almost YouTuber bait. Now, part of that was because of this very vivid looking dial, which is undeniably impressive. Let's get that plastic off and give you a closer look at it. And wow, it's a pretty good-looking watch, which is why the name is quite the shame. So technically, the code name for this is the K003, but what you'll find it listed as online on most sites, including most AliExpress listings, is the Addy's Skin Red Ice Crack. That's right, you can wear a red ice crack right there on your wrist. I mean, at this point, with that brand name and this particular product name, they've got to be trolling us, surely. But of course, if this one isn't to your taste, you can get the blue ice crack instead. And there's probably a black one in there too, who knows? But yeah, pretty outrageous product name. And let's just say if someone sees this and asks what it is, you're probably going to be calling it the K003 instead. And at the end of this video, we're going to be comparing this ice crack to another red ice crack, which I also found online from a different brand. Yeah, it seems they're all at it at the moment. But yeah, anyway, for now, it wasn't just the meme-worthy name that got me interested in this one. It was, of course, this rather elaborate dial here. Now, I won't say it looks all that much like an ice crack, whatever that is. Obviously, this particular version is red, but you can get this one in other colors, like I said. Some of those perhaps do look a bit more frosty. And regardless of the name, I have to say this is pretty impressive for a watch at this price. This particular one I purchased with my own money from the Addy's Dive site, this one. Although you can get it on AliExpress. I say just go with whichever's cheapest. You find a link to it in the video description, by the way, as well as the other watch, which I'll show in a moment. And this one set me back $229 US. That includes shipping, which probably works out about £180. And yeah, you get a dial here that's usually only seen on much more expensive watches. And yeah, while it's technically very, very impressive, this, I can't give them plaudits for originality because I have seen this dial before, and I'm pretty sure they've taken some inspiration, shall we say, from a different watch brand, that being Straum. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, there's this sports watch manufacturer that's already been producing dials like this for quite some time, and with much better branding to boot. But those watches are 4 figures from what I remember, or close to it, whereas this is less than 200 quid, so it's hard to be too harsh on them. Otherwise though, it isn't a direct clone by any means. Almost has like a Railmaster handset there, and I don't think those markers are present on the Straum version. Specs wise, really impressive as well, this one. This one has a full stainless steel case, almost certainly 316L from the look and feel of this one, with some very good finishing. Quite a run-of-the-mill case shape here, just looks like a lot of other watches out there, but yeah, remarkably well finished, even on the lugs here. You'll see end of the lugs are actually faceted as well, which is quite impressive, and overall fairly slim too. This one is powered by a rather skinny movement, the Miyota 9015. It looks like we do have a sticker somewhere on the back here. There we go. But yeah, pretty decent movement this, with some minor decoration to it. And I do like the case back on this one as well. Not often you see so few notches. This one's just got 4 circular notches there. And so long as you screw it on successfully and align it properly, it kind of adds to the style of the case back a little bit. Quite nice that they've actually, you know, got everything perfectly aligned here, like the logo and that. That wasn't the case with the recent Hamilton I purchased for about 3.5 times as much. So quite impressive that they're able to do this. Addy's Skin Skin being Addy's Dive's kind of premium line. You got this really nice stainless steel bracelet. Again, a little bit of a run-of-the-mill design on this one, but yeah, finishing seems pretty good. No obvious stiff links either. All seem to be solid steel links as well. Water resistance on this one, by the way, is 10 bar, so that should be good enough for most people, and that does appear to be a screw back as well. It's got a really decent milled clasp here, and multiple adjustment holes too. Sadly, no micro adjustments here. This watch is a bit cheaper than the likes of your San Martins, which usually have those by default, so it's not altogether a surprise, and you do still get plenty to choose from here. Maybe they could be a bit closer together, because if you're going to be moving this far away, you would surely just take out another link. But either way, you'll probably get a good fit with this one. Nice enough clasp with the logo on. Crystal on this one is a sapphire crystal, and a fairly decent one as well. I'd say this is maybe a hair better than some of the big brands I've covered recently. The likes of your Citizens and Orients do have fairly hazy sapphire crystals, whereas this one's perhaps like a 6 out of 10. Now, I don't think that is bad at all, even at extreme angles, as you can see. So yeah, surprisingly good, but we'll definitely use my gem tester in a second just to make sure it is sapphire. Supposedly a 38mm watch this. Let's see if that is the case. Does seem rather small, and right across the middle, we've got 38.05-ish. Lug to lug on this. Only 45.2. Didn't look that short, but yeah, it is actually quite short. Some of that could be because they're squared off a bit at the ends here. And thickness, almost exactly 10mm, which is okay actually for a mechanical bezel design like this. And here's a look at my skinny 6¼ inch wrist inside this red ice crack, and maybe looks a bit bigger than the size would suggest. That's with female end links here on the bracelet too. Not sure exactly what it is. Maybe it's something to do with the case shape. Maybe them lugs look longer than they actually are, but I'd say look somewhere is more like a 39mm watch, so perhaps a hair too big for my arm. I think some of it is just the dial's quite wide on this one too compared to the case size. Case does remind me of some of those Erebus watches actually. Somewhat similar styling. I think they're maybe a little bit better finished on the case, but these are cheaper, I think. And that dial is actually really, really cool. Would love to see the original Straum watch in the flesh, because they're the ones who really deserve the plaudits. But they've done a good job of replicating it for cheap here. Really, really have. And surprisingly, not sure it fully comes across on camera, but I've just had a little bit of a look at it there to the side, and the text is still fairly readable considering all the bumps going on. Bracelet feels really good too. Haven't sized it yet, of course. And also, I forgot to mention this has a screw down crown as well there. Really smooth one as well. Very substantial feeling. Do trust this one would hold up quite well aquatically. What I can also see here on this spec sheet is BGW9 luminescence, so should be quite bright. But first, while we've got it down here, let's check that crystal A, because this is something that many AliExpress brands seem to lie about. Now, Addy's Dive, or Addy's Skin in this case, are relatively well established, so I don't think they'd be lying at this point. But if you're new here, what we're looking for is when I press my little pen here onto the crystal, hopefully this needle will move all the way up into the ruby sapphire section. That's how we'll know it's got the proper scratch resistance and isn't secretly mineral glass instead. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of excited for the day when we do catch one of these brands out, because it's been a while. Well, let's see if that's the case with Addy's Skin here. And this gem tester is just so good. And it just makes it up to the very bottom section of sapphire there. So it is a sapphire crystal. And wouldn't it be hilarious if they'd prepped a secret grotesque luminescence pattern for us here? No, it is your fairly predictable blue stuff, this BGW9. But this should give pretty good performance. Always been very impressed by BGW9, no matter what watch it's used on. And yeah, it's not the dimmest in this room, still working on that. But that luminescence, I can tell you, is pretty strong indeed. You're going to have no problems reading that. But is this Addy's Skin the best red ice crack you can buy? Well, we have another player here on the sidelines who released one of these watches at exactly the same time, it seemed, or very, very close, to the extent where it couldn't possibly have been in development after the fact. Let's pop this open and, yeah, see how it stacks up. Really intrigued with this one. And in fact, haven't looked at any watches from this brand, if it's the one I think it is. And there we go. Well, packaging is somewhat similar, has this faux carbon effect, and, well, even the logo is fairly similar. So this isn't an Addy's Skin or an Addy's Dive for that matter. This is a Watch Dives watch. Now, again, I purchased this one with my own money. I think this one was from AliExpress. Yeah, this one was from AliExpress. But they have asked me many times before to take a look at one of their watches. Though up until now, this is the first one that kind of intrigued me. And I wanted to see what a customer actually got. And you know what? Maybe a bit more different than I expected. Yeah, I can tell straight away, even through the plastic, this one has some notable differences, even though that dial is near identical. Still has the near impenetrable plastic coating on it. So here it is, Merry Christmas, the Watch Dives Red Ice Crack, and it's even got a similar code name, WD0003C. So really not sure if they're any relation to Addy's Dive or Addy's Skin or anything. Always hard to find the background of these Chinese companies. And this one cost me substantially less. This one on AliExpress was only £126 at the time of recording at least. So a good 50 or 60 quid less. And I probably could have got this watch even cheaper if I hadn't forgotten to use a discount code. And if I've got any active discount codes, you'll find them in the video description. And in some cases, they can make quite a sizable difference. You know, I actually prefer this upon first impressions. Some of that is because of the size, does seem a hair smaller. But it's got a few more like sumptuous curves to it. Very, very nice case. Never looked at a Watch Dives watch before. And the brand name, well, still far from perfect, is a heck of a lot better than Addy's Skin. And the logo's pretty good too, I would say. It looks quite at home there on the dial, with fairly Western appeal, I would say. And yeah, certainly has some differences. Now, the inner portion of that dial is obviously very similar. As you can see here, they've both got that high gradient. With this right one, maybe a bit more of a gradient. It goes almost straight away to black. But these two do have different hands. One's on the right being a bit more predictable, maybe my preferred choice. And some different markers. Now, many of them are very, very similar, but there is one at 12 there that's quite a bit different. And something else that's different is the clarity. So while this Addy Skin on the left isn't too bad actually as far as the sapphire goes, whatever crystal this Watch Dive's using is better for sure. Now this is a domed crystal, and they are claiming this is sapphire as well. This is one of the clearest sapphires I've seen. Yeah, it does have a slight dome to it there, but I noticed immediately, even through the plastic, that this one was substantially clear. One of the best sapphires I've seen. Definitely will be giving this a test. Almost seems too good to be true, that. Does definitely feel like it's at least glass and not acrylic or something. Case finishing too is really interesting. Now, Addy's Dive has always had pretty good case finishing, and I would say perhaps the brushing on the Addy's Dive might be a hair better, but I think the polishing is better on the Watch Dives. Maybe just prefer the dispersion and style of the polishing, especially on this one, like this bit running the bottom here. This one's also stainless steel, it says, and this will be one of the reasons why it's a bit more affordable. This one isn't actually mechanical. I was fooled there for a second. Yeah, it definitely isn't. Now looking at that second hand. So while the Addy Skin has that pretty high-end Miyota, which is normally in watches that cost a lot more than this actually, so they've done well to fit that in there. This is instead using a Seiko VH31. And yeah, this one has somewhat of a sweep to that second hand still. Now this isn't anywhere close to what you would get from a Bulova Precisionist, for example. I think it's got maybe 3 beats per second there, but it's still better than a standard tick, I would say. It looks a bit more aesthetically pleasing, and it does keep the cost down, I guess. And aside from that, I do think this watch looks like a more premium watch than the other one, despite being cheaper. Now, what else is it packing here? It says here it's got the same water resistance as the other one, 10 bar, and yeah, it has got a flatter case back there as well. Much more plain look to it. No peeking at the quartz movement inside, not that you want to, but it has got a reasonably substantial case back there. Does it have a screw down crown, this one? Yes, it does as well. Okay. So yeah, some quite promising signs there. And I've wondered for a while why some of these Chinese brands don't experiment a bit more with quartz, because while it maybe doesn't have the cult following of the mechanical stuff, there's absolutely a gap in the market for it. I think a lot of people want a better alternative to the stuff they find on the high street, and in pretty much every other way this is better than those. Yeah, this bracelet is near identical to that on that Addy's Skin. It's a similar milled clasp here, really good clasp, and again just have these standard micro adjustment holes, which is probably good enough. I anticipate though that these aren't screw links. The other ones used screw links, you see, on the Addy's Skin, or at least you got the tool for them, so I'm assuming they're screw links. That has been a quirk I've seen before, where they've sent you a screw link tool, but the watch has just used push pins. I do think though this one on the right here is definitely push pins, and this one is also available in numerous different colours, including different textures as well. And while I gave you that mouthful of a code name earlier, this one does have the word Elementum on the dial, so maybe that's the particular branding they're going with for that one, even though it doesn't say so on the AliExpress listing. And you know what? On that note, I need to check that original Stram watch, because if that's called Red Ice Crack, then maybe I've missed a trick here. No, so on the Stram site, they've got it called things like Volcanic Red or Magma Red, and they have got a couple of the lighter colours called like Glacial Rift and Glacier White, but those do look a fair bit different. So goodness knows where they came up with that Red Ice Crack from. But yeah, let's just double check that crystal. Does seem suspiciously clear, especially for a watch at this price. Maybe I will get my scandal after all. So you guys know how this works now. Let's see if they're telling the truth. And yeah, this one shot right up there into the ruby sapphire section, or maybe only just. So yeah, definitely is a sapphire crystal. There we go. If it were just mineral crystal, it would have only landed right the way down here. So yeah, surprisingly, sapphire can be done well on the cheap. Now, as for sizing, this one seems to be a bit of a tighter one, a tighter ice crack. So again, on the listing, it says this is 38 millimeters, and it almost exactly is, even though it looks quite considerably smaller. Shows the effect that the dial size can have on your perception of watches, because these are actually both the same size width-wise, but the one on the right certainly looks smaller. Let's see that lug to lug, because that's gotta be different. And again, virtually no difference, 45.8. And this one isn't quite as squared off as you can see as the other one, which probably affects it a little bit. If they were both squared, this one would be considerably shorter, I speculate. And thickness, including that slightly domed crystal, about 10.65. If you were discounting the crystal, does have the edge, I think, here. Yeah, about 9.8, 9.9. So it is also a hair thinner, which you would expect considering it's got a more compact quartz movement. And my wife won't be super happy about this, but got my wrist here inside another ice crack here today. And I think this is definitely the better looking of the two. It certainly looks that little bit tighter. And the biggest difference is absolutely that curvature of the lugs, at least for my skinny arm. You'll see here from the side, this one has basically no gaps at all there, especially not under the lugs. Whereas this one is just that bit flatter. Still not bad overall, but for my arm, this one is absolutely the better fit of the two. And it also has that slightly higher contrast, especially paired with that crystal. I think makes a bit of a difference. Also prefer the way the logo is just stuck on there as well. I like having a bit of a 3D logo like that. I think it always looks a tiny bit more premium, or at least can do. Definitely looks nicer than this Adiskin logo, although ironically the bottom text is a bit harder to read this time. But yeah, overall very good first impressions with this. Let's whip this under low light, shall we? Also says BGW9 here as well, so let's see how this one copes in low light. It might be a placebo, but I do think that that looks dimmer than the other one, especially on the markers. The hands are perhaps a bit similar, but I think I might have to get them side by side. And you know what I think it actually is? I think it's just that the markers on the one on the right have got such thin strips of loom that it inherently just doesn't look as bright. Because if I cut my hands around these, they both actually come out to a rather similar level. So yeah, there's a quick look at two of the very weirdest watches you can get on AliExpress. Impressive, but just very peculiarly named. They're both linked below if you do want to take a look at them for yourselves. And any of you Chinese watch experts out there, I'd love to know if you think there's any connection between these two brands. Maybe they just both copied the Stram dial at the same time, and then one of them copied the other one's name for it, the Red Ice Crack. What are they going to come up with? If it gets much worse, YouTube will probably just straight up block these videos for profanity.